Oh, hey y'all, welcome back to Fatty Simple Hits, a show dedicated to helping you learn games good. And today, Genesis had just dropped, so I wanted to dive in and give some quick tips on how to tame some of the most desired creatures in Ark Genesis. So today, we're going to talk about the Ferox. We're going to talk about location, where to find it, how to actually tame it, what do you need to do, different tips and tricks, utilization, what is the addiction aspect, how do you actually get them to rage and all of that, as well as breeding, because they're a little bit more unique than most in that sense. So, let's just dive into it. So the very first thing we want to talk about is where are we going to find this thing before we even jump into taming it. So this is going to be found in the Arctic biome, which is one of the few biomes that Genesis has, and you can fast travel there using HLNA. So when you get there, what you want to do is look at the latitude, and you're going to be between the 80 and the 90 blocks at the very bottom, the very south part of the map, and then very close to the center of the map within those blocks. So between the 30 and the 50 longitude is where I found them. Now I'm sure they can be found in other areas. There's not a lot of information out there right now exactly where they physically spawns are located, but as much as I played and as much as I looked around in the Arctic biome, this is really the few locations that I can see is those 3 squares at the bottom. So start there, and I guarantee you're gonna find one in there. And then let's just jump into taming. Now the unique thing with the Ferox is, unlike any other dinosaur, they actually eat element, and you have to have element just in your inventory, and it's really easy to overutilize these element when you're feeding them. So when you actually do find one in the wild, if you have your tech helmet on, they'll look like they're aggroing to you, but really they just come at you as long as they're small. Now you want to have your element in the very last slot, and when you press it, he's going to actually eat it. Not your character, but the Ferox is going to eat it, and then he's going to turn into rage mode and then come attack you like a spider monkey. So really what you need to do is, there's multiple different ways you could go about this. You could trap the Ferox if you wanted to in an area and then just leave when it rages, so it's kind of trapped in there, and you could easily do that in multiple different ways. But for me, they don't really go very far. So what I just did is I built literally a 1x2 hut. You could easily do a 2x2 hut, and then you just let it rage for a second, then it's going to come back down, and then you go out there, you feed it again, and then you come back inside. Now I was doing this with a 10 times taming rate, and at a level 60 it only took about 2 times. So you're kind of talking about that, I think, for about a 150, let's say, if you're playing unofficial, you're probably going to have to be doing that about 20 plus times. So that means at very minimum you need 20 element to even just go about this. Now here a lot of you guys are saying but Fatty, how are we supposed to get this right away? Well, what you want to do is challenges. There's those map challenges, their quests, whatever you want to call them, will give you points, and those points can be spent again through HLNA, and she gives you element, and I think it's 20,000 for a single element. So if you're talking about just taming one at a lower level, you're only talking about doing 4 challenges to get enough element to actually go out and tame it. So really not that hard to tame, and incredibly useful. Okay, so now that we know actually how to tame one, where to kind of find it, now let's talk about what you can actually do. Now, they are one of the best shoulder pets. They're super cute. They actually sit on your shoulder with their little feet hanging out front, and I think that's amazing. Shoulder pets are always one of my favorite things in Ark. But it does have more utility. When you feed it element, and you have to change how much you feed it depending on its addiction, how soon it deformed from the rage Hulk mode. There's a lot of factors, but it's usually between 1 and 5 is what I found out. And they have lots of great things. So first off, if you have any kind of momentum when you're running and you just do your base attack, you actually get to launch small things. Pretty big kickback, and if you ever fight one of these things or one's chasing you, you'll notice this is an effect that happens in game as well as your C attack, or your right click, your thumbstick kind of attack for your console players is going to be a rock throw, which is going to be your most powerful attack, as well as your left trigger, which is just kind of a ground pound. All amazing, useful things. And when you feed an element and it does rage, you have a health timer. Now with that, not the health timer, but it's a duration timer. How long can you be in this rage mode? Now what you can do is you continually feed it, and it will feed an element, and it will gain more time to be like that. And you can truly do it unlimited amount. As long as you have the element to supply it, it will do it. And when I first tested this, I saw the addiction meter and it went up really high. So I was like, oh gosh, it's gonna get addicted, it's gonna rage, go crazy, it's gonna mess up my dino. So I was like, okay, let's push it, let's see what this does. And when you actually do that, you get crazy buffs. So if you can feed it more and you can get it addicted, it's actually the best thing that you can do if you're gonna use this in PvP. Because when you do get it addicted to 100%, you get a 200% damage buff, a 50% attack speed, and a 25% resistance buff. Now this is the buff for being addicted, so that is incredibly amazing. You can just do amazing things with it. Just one thing you got to be aware about is you can only level it when it's in little guy mode. Anything when it's in big guy mode with like mating and stuff like that, just it doesn't work. So just keep that in mind. If you're actually like trying to like level it, you might actually want to use it as a shoulder pet to be able to give it those levels. And the very last thing I want to talk about is breeding. Now, they are very interesting to breed. They do come in male and female variety, so you can breed them off the bat. They cannot be in their big rage monkey modes. If you truly want to breed them, it just doesn't work. What you really have to do is have to get their addiction meter all the way up to 100%, and then you have to let it drain down and have them turn back to little monkeys, because the only way you can get their addiction is feeding them the element. So if you feed them the element, they're going to turn up rage. So you can get their addiction meter all the way up, and when that actually happens, you do lose that 90 seconds of duration on that you can't really get back. So you have to continually feed them more element. But if you get them all the way up, that timer is going to drop down a little bit, and you have to let them shrink back down, and their addiction is going to be pretty high up there. It's still going to be about 90%, 99% or anything like that. So it might just take 1 or 2 more elements to get them there. And then when you do, they just breed like anything else. They actually gestate. It doesn't take very long. I would say it's very comparable to like a Gigantopithecus. Very comparable to that in the amount of time and stuff that it's going to take to breed. And again, to raise it, it just needs element. Element's the name of the game. So make sure you stock up on element, or you really stock up on doing those quests and stuff to get some more for HLNA. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be doing lots of videos about Genesis as it's coming out. I'm going to bust through first my tame videos. Next will be the Magnosaurus, the Bloodstalker, and then the Megachilion. I want to do all those. I want to do kind of like just the top 10 things you didn't know about Ark Genesis, because there's a lot of information out there. This honestly, in my mind, it's a soft reboot, soft like remix of everything that's been going on. So a lot to digest, a lot to kind of go through. If there's anything else you guys want to know about Ark Genesis, anything you guys are struggling with, base design, locations, anything like that, leave a comment down below, and I will get onto those videos next. And I will see you guys later. Oh, and just a special happy birthday shout out to my son Logan. He's turning 2 today. You can probably hear him in the background going a little crazy, but I just want to wish him a happy birthday as we look back on this in the future. Peace, guys.